What the fuck? The real Jenna Ortega is gone. The person you see in that video isn't the same anymore. Dude, who even is this woman? That is not the Jenna Ortega we all remember. She showed up like this in London at the premiere of season 2 of Wednesday. Look at this. This was Jenna Ortega maybe 2 years ago before the whole transformation started. And even here, she still looked like her. There was light in her eyes. Her face had life. She had a real personality. But since that premiere, everything's just off. She lost everything that made her glow. And that jawline, it literally broke the internet. What the hell is going on with all these celebrities transforming like this? There's a leaked video of Jenna Ortega that just came out, and you can clearly tell something's not right. If you want to see that video before it gets taken down, tap share, then tap more and open it in your browser. I don't get how people aren't seeing the difference between this Jenna Ortega and the new Jenna Ortega. How does someone with so much potential, so much natural beauty, ruin her appearance like that? Something dark is happening, but who's behind it all? What the hell is going on in Hollywood?
Have you guys heard the story of the woman who got swallowed by a python in Indonesia? If not, I'd stick around. In October of 2022, a 54-year-old Indonesian woman by the name of Jara was walking through the forest to her job at a local rubber plant when she disappeared and didn't return home for 2 days. The family then grew worrisome, and after the husband of the woman actually went out looking for her and all he found were her tools and the clothing that she was wearing when she disappeared, he actually called together a search party to find his missing wife. During the search party, local villagers that were helping the family find their relative actually spotted a 16-foot python that had a very swollen stomach and seemed to be carrying something quite large. As soon as the villagers spotted the snake, they decided to unalive it and cut it open to see what the snake had inside of its stomach. And when they did, everyone was astonished at what they found. It had been discovered that the 54-year-old woman had been swallowed whole by the python. And the scary thing is, this isn't the first time this has happened in Indonesia. Y'all, she was swallowed whole. I just wanted to repeat that. That's actually her leg, you know, hanging out of the snake right there that was cut open. Yeah, it's pretty terrifying. And I'm not going to give y'all a history lesson, but in simple terms, snakes have very flexible ligaments inside of their jaws that allows them to wrap around huge prey. And it just so happened that this 54-year-old Indonesian woman was the prey this time. So that finalized me never going to Indonesia, ever.
This is horrifying. The rules are simple. 50 boys, 3 miles an hour, but if you stop walking, you die. And even though there's no finish line, no one knows how far the road goes, the only way to win is to be the last one alive. And with every mile, more boys are eliminated as the crowd cheers for who they think will be the champion. But why would anyone enter a contest like this? Is it because the prize is anything you could ever dream of, or because the only thing worse than dying is living the life that you walked away from? Some of the boys are doing it for the money. Some are doing it for the fame. But some of them just simply have nothing to lose. But if you want to see who's going to become the winner and just how far they have to go, check out The Long Walk in theaters September 12th. And guys, let me know, how far could you go?
Here are some Halloween costumes that we need to retire ASAP. We've beaten them to death. Leading the pack, we have the Purge. First of all, if you think you're gonna survive the Purge in a crop top and high heels, honey, you got a big storm coming. Can we all agree that this has just fallen into the category of lazy costumes when you have nothing else to be? Move on. Next up, we have the Frat Bro. Let's be honest, I have never seen a frat brother wearing a tie at a party. And button-downs and hats are only occasional. People who dress as this have never actually been to a frat party. Where are the vomit-covered jerseys and court cases? Then we have the laziest, most basic of all, the Angel and the Devil. Who are we fooling? We're all going to hell anyway. Sometimes these could be really good, but most times not. Next up, we have the M&M group costume. I love M&Ms, but this lazy-ass costume makes me wish they never existed. Let's get more creative. Let's be left Twix and right Twix. And lastly, we have any costume that involves ears. If you just wear the ears, it doesn't fucking count. Boo!
The Rarest Creatures on Earth, Part 2. Snowflake was an albino gorilla that used to live at Barcelona Zoo in Spain. Sadly, he was euthanized in 2003 after being diagnosed with a rare form of skin cancer, likely as a result of his condition. He was the world's only known albino gorilla. The blue dragon is the rarest mollusk in the world and looks like something from outer space. Speaking of aliens, this octopus with 85 tentacles was found near Japan in 1957. This cat suffers from myostatin-related hypertrophy, a very rare condition that causes the muscles to grow excessively large. But he's still no match for Hercules the 900-pound liger, who's officially recognized as the largest cat in the world. He lives at a wildlife preserve called Myrtle Beach Safari in South Carolina. In 2011, the red-crested tree rat was thought to be extinct for 113 years until it casually appeared on the handrail of an eco-lodge in Colombia. They let researchers photograph it for more than 2 hours before disappearing into the night, never to be seen again.
Creepy last words people said right before dying. John said that back in the 80s, when he was a young patrol officer in Phoenix, Arizona, he was the first to arrive at a motorcycle accident. The Harley Davidson was torn apart across the asphalt. The rider, a big man with a thick beard and arms covered in tattoos, lay crumpled beside the wreck. His chest looked wrong, sunken in. Each breath a desperate gasp. "I need to go to confession," he choked out, blood bubbling at the corner of his mouth. "Should have gone yesterday," he said. John said that he knelt beside him trying to keep him talking, but the man's eyes were wide, darting at things that John couldn't see. "I've done terrible things," he said. "Murder. It's coming for me." His voice broke into a panic chant. "Please, God, help me. God, please help me." Then softer. "It says my soul belongs to him now. It has horns." John said that his last words came out in a trembling whisper. "I'm going to hell," he said. And with the word hell, the man's body gave one last shudder and went still, his expression frozen in horror. The paramedics pulled up less than a minute later, but John knew that they were already too late.
Is the zombie from Wednesday Season 2 secretly Thing the Hand? There's a book called Addams Family and Evolution that shows that Thing used to be a full-bodied person. I circled him on the cover of the book. I can't find any photos, but apparently he had 8 legs. Thing was considered to be the family's helping hand, and he would basically hide in the shadows silently and then jump into action when the family would need him. In the 50s, the creators leaned into like the creepy, mysterious vibe of the character, and they made him just a helping hand. Same with the film in the 90s, and even now in 2025, Wednesday tells Enid that Thing is one of the Addams family's biggest secret. But how does the zombie fit into all of this? This is the only photo of the book I can find online, so I am just going by other people's word of mouth that this character has 8 legs. Like, clearly the zombie doesn't have 8 legs. But here's the thing, Slurp only uses his left hand, and Thing is a right hand, and he fully does not have a right hand. And that's where this theory really stems from. Maybe Slurp's right hand is out there doing its own thing. And we have to think about Slurp's reaction during the Willow Hill breakout. His startled, scared reaction might be that he realizes that his missing body part has gained its own agency. Another really big thing to note is Thing emerges from the skull tree, and that's huge. This is the tree that is tied to Slurp's origin story. So it makes sense for the storytelling if a part of him is literally like coming out of it. It's a little clue for the viewer. Do you think Thing is Slurp's right hand? Let me know your thoughts. I'm not sure this lines up with the Addams Family lore necessarily, but I think if the show is doing its own thing, this could work. Follow for more.
Now, of course, Google will tell you these inventors were nothing but con men, liars, frauds, or just scientists with great ideas who didn't know any better. It will also tell you 0-point energy is impossible, and anyone who stands up for it or even talks about it is attacked or shamed for spreading misinformation. Google debunkers, compliant NPCs who believe they can irrefutably debunk any extreme claim with a 5-second Google search, truly are the downfall of society. The modern-day version of Vladimir Lenin's useful idiot. Google debunkers. Love you guys. You're not allowed to talk like that. You present your theories as if they are fact.
The most famous actor in the world spends $30,000 a day to stay alive, even though he no longer has the strength to open a simple bottle. We all know Daniel Radcliffe, the legendary star of Harry Potter, but what nobody knows is that he is fighting an incurable disease. He may have a $450 million fortune and lots of real estate, but that is not what will save him. His castle even had to be turned into a medical center, with a team of nurses on site every day for him. He supposedly even bought a volcanic island in Hawaii to slow slow his muscle loss. He has tried everything money can buy, experimental therapies, holy waters, cold chambers. His hands shake so much he can no longer hold a glass of water, and his eyes shine as if he were already looking at the next world. But even with all that, he has donated millions of dollars to ALS research. His life has become a full-time survival mission, yet he still uses his last strength and his fortune to give other patients a better chance at the future. He is a legend to everyone, and he will remain a legend even after he's gone. Leave your wishes for Daniel below before it is too late.
Switzerland are quietly preparing for the end of the world. They've been hustling for decades. You wouldn't know it by just looking at them, but underneath around 60% of the Swiss Alps, they've built a city of doomsday bunkers that can protect hundreds of thousands of people in a catastrophic event. In fact, Switzerland is the only country in the world that can house their entire population, 8.7 million people, in a secure bunker. And they're not just old, forgotten World War II structures slowly crumbling away. They are continuously updated and restocked with supplies till this day. You see, Switzerland decided they needed to, excuse the pun, lock in after Germany promised to not invade them during World War II. They not only transformed the peaceful Swiss Alps into an absolute fortress and rigged it with enough explosives to collapse entire mountainsides, but the Swiss government also made it a law for homes, schools, hospitals, and other public buildings to install protective shelters, and that policy remains till this day, meaning the entire country is designed in a way that wherever you go, whether it's a restaurant, a park, or a friend's house, there's always a doomsday bunker nearby. According to official figures, Switzerland currently has around 300,000 bunkers across the country, which can accommodate roughly 9.3 million people. That's over 500,000 more than the country's current population. And once they're safely inside, they can even remotely detonate things like roads, bridges, tunnels, and railways to keep out invaders, or I guess, the unprepared.
Disturbing history facts that school did not teach you. During medieval times, some women would shove live fish inside their bodies, if you know what I mean, and wait until the fish died inside them before cooking and serving it to their husbands. It was believed that this would increase their husband's love for them. Mother Teresa encouraged sick patients to suffer, but went straight to the hospital when she was ill. She is regarded by many as a saint for her dedication to helping the poor and sick in India. She believed suffering was a gift from God and encouraged her patients to accept it as a way to get closer to Jesus. However, when she herself fell ill with heart problems, she chose to get treated in modern hospitals. Charlie Chaplin met his future wife when she was 12 and he was 31. They first crossed paths on the set of the movie The Kid in 1920. 4 years later, due to Letta Gray's pregnancy, they got married when she was only 16 years old. Their turbulent union eventually resulted in one of the most expensive divorces of their time.
Could The Rock actually become the next US president? Well, that's exactly what a lot of people are talking about today, because recently his odds of becoming the Democrats' next presidential nominee have surged on Polymarket above even Michelle Obama and Tim Walz. Now, realistically, his odds are still only sitting at about 2 to 3%, with Gavin Newsom and AOC being by far the top two contenders. But the crazy part is that he's up there without even saying that he's running. He has, although, dropped sneaky little hints. For example, in 2022, a poll came out that 46% of Americans would support his presidential run, and then he revealed that after that poll came out, multiple political parties approached him to see if he would run for US president in 2024. In 2016, he told GQ, "I can't deny the thought of being a governor or president is alluring." And then just a year later, he told Variety that the 2024 presidential campaign was a realistic consideration. Now, he mentioned what stopped him was his kids. He doesn't want them to be dragged into politics. But he still left the door slightly open, because he told told Trevor Noah in a podcast if that's
ultimately what the people would want, then of course I would consider it.
And hypothetically, if he did run in 2028, the current odds say that he'd be up against J.D. Vance. So the question is Dwayne Johnson exactly what the Democrats need right now? Or would AOC and Gavin Newsom be a better option?
Imagine being resurrected from the dead only to bomb harder than you did at this kid's birthday party. The worst horror movies I've ever seen. And this one's tagline is literally bad clown. This movie starts with a clown getting busy in his camper while staring at a creepy egg with a face on it. Cut to Stitches, the clown arriving late to a kid's birthday party. And instead of being funny, the kids end up pranking him. They tie his shoelaces together, and one throws a soccer ball at his face. He trips, lands on a knife sticking up from a dishwasher, and somehow survives long enough to try stabbing the kid who pranks him, but he then slips on the blood and dies. And that sets the tone for the rest of this film. Years later, a clown cult comes and they resurrect him using an egg ritual because apparently if a clown dies mid-party, he cannot rest in peace. Flash forward to the future and these kids from the birthday party are now teenagers who are throwing another birthday party. Stitches comes back fully unhinged, to say the least. The kills try to be outrageous, but it feels like a rejected Goosebumps idea filtered through a Hot Topic discount bin. And the tone is all over the place. It's like the movie couldn't decide if it was horror, a comedy, or a PSA about why you shouldn't bully kids with bad haircuts. And on top of that, out of nowhere, Stitches ends the cat. It was just like so unnecessary. And when I was watching it, my cat was sitting on my lap and he looked at me. He was like, Kane Hodder would never. Ross Noble deserves jail for this accent alone. Or maybe I do for thinking I would enjoy this. These are a few reasons why Stitches is one of the worst horror movies I've ever seen. Let me know your least favorite and follow for more.
The world's most unsolved mysteries. This picture represents mysteries from the most well-known to the darkest. Some of these mysteries have never been solved and never will. For this series, we're going to be picking some from each category until we reach tier 10, the point of no return. Okay, so tier 1. Today we're going to be talking about the Beast of Javedal. Between 1764 and 1767, a huge beast killed over 100 people in southeastern France. It was described as being a large cow with razor-sharp teeth. If you think this is just a myth or a legend, you're wrong. This actually happened. In fact, there were so many witnesses that they were able to well document this entire thing. The first attack occurred when a woman was walking with her bulls. The beast charged the bulls, and the bulls were able to fight off this beast with their horns. The woman described it as a huge chest with razor-sharp teeth, tail way longer than a wolf, and horns on its head. This beast was so dangerous that it would appear on people's doorsteps, and when they would open the door, it would tear their feet right off. Not only that, but 80% of the victims either had their throat torn out or their head cut off. And sometimes it would even carry the bodies away, leaving little trails of body parts. Now on to the theories. The first theory is it's nothing more than a wolf. One of the reasons people say that this theory isn't true is because of the way they described it. Not only are the physical characteristics different, but the attacks themselves as well. Wolves don't typically attack full-grown men because they're afraid, but this beast killed over 100 people. The second theory is maybe it was a lion. This is one of the most popular theories, but to me it doesn't sit right because how could a lion get to the southeastern of France? The third theory, which I think is the scariest, is this was something we've never seen before, which leaves the question, was this just a wolf or a lion, or was this something much darker? Make sure to like and follow because we have a lot more to learn.
You won't believe what is happening in the Arab world right now. This is by far one of the biggest social media strikes I have ever seen. Major Arabic influencers with millions of followers are being targeted, and people everywhere are unfollowing them in massive numbers. But why?
يقيمون في منازل وفنادق من فئة النجوم الخمسة يتباهون بأرصدتهم المالية الضخمة.
قاطعوا شلة دبي.
سمعت عن ترند شلة دبي؟
حملة واسعة على مواقع التواصل لمقاطعة مشاهير السوشيال ميديا وإلغاء متابعتهم.
انقلاب تسقط الشلة
كلبين عليكم كلب مرتبة
إلغاء متابعة المشاهير.
Over the past couple of weeks, Arab TikTok users have been calling out a specific group of influencers who live in Dubai. Most of them aren't even from Dubai, yet their biggest audiences come from Syria, Egypt, Lebanon, Palestine, Algeria, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, and so much more. Strangely, they have very few actual followers in Dubai. So when this unfollowing strike began, people in Dubai were shocked because most of us here had never even heard of these influencers before. But here's why millions turned against them. Obviously, these accusations never came from me. They were public accusations by their fans. They said they claim to be Syrian, yet never once addressed or supported the ongoing Syrian conflict. 2. They stayed silent on the Palestinian war. 3. They constantly flaunted their wealth while ignoring causes and charities that needed help. 4. And finally, when people demanded answers, their arrogant responses only made things worse. One of these influencers that I cannot name posted a video saying this: "We are living our best lives. Post whatever you want about us. Nothing will change." And what happened after that turned this unfollow strike into one of the biggest social media uprisings the Arab world has ever seen.
صوروا لحظة بلحظة كيف توقفوا عن متابعة المشاهير.
What does plutonium taste like? This man found out. Los Alamos, 1944. Donald Matstick was working in a high-security lab helping to develop the atomic bomb. Then an accident would change his life forever. Picking up a glass container, it exploded and covered him in an acidic liquid. That container held a microscopic amount of plutonium. Noticing the acidic taste that filled his mouth, Donald knew he was in deep trouble. Even 30 years later, trace amounts of plutonium were still detectable in Donald, but he lived until he was 87.
He took the life of this 74-year-old man because he got dumped.
Can you say Joy Lane?
What?
Can you say Joy Lane?
Joy Lane?
Yeah. She's the reason why this is about to happen to you.
On April 16th of 2017, 74-year-old Robert Godwin Sr. had just finished an Easter lunch with his family. He was seen walking around the Glenville neighborhood in Cleveland, Ohio, collecting cans. Robert was then randomly approached by 37-year-old Steve Stevens. Steve worked as a case manager at a behavioral health agency, and his friend stated that he had money problems, gambling issues, and a recent breakup with his girlfriend, Joy Lane. Earlier that day, Steve was recording himself talking about how his life was falling apart and he really wanted to unalive someone because of his breakup. That was when Steven spotted Robert. He went up to Robert, recording him, asking him to say the name Joy Lane. Robert looked very confused because he didn't know anyone by that name, but Steve told him that she was the reason that this was going to happen to him. Moments later, Steve shot Robert right in the head and he collapsed. Steve filmed the whole thing on his phone and then uploaded it onto Facebook so that everyone could see. Steve quickly fled the scene and left Robert there to die. The video ended up being taken down about 2 hours later and Steve was on the run. 2 days later, Steve was spotted in a McDonald's drive-thru in Erie, Pennsylvania. The workers had recognized him and purposely stalled his order so that they had time to call police. Police arrived quickly, but before he could be arrested, he shot himself in his head and took his own life. In September of 2017, part of 146 East Street was renamed Robert Godwin Sr. Way. Robert's children, especially his daughter, forgive Steve because they were raised to live by faith and forgiveness. Robert Godwin Sr. is remembered as a kind man, a father of 8, a grandfather of 14, and even a great-grandfather, and a man of faith.
Do you have scopophobia? Let's find out. I'm going to show you 5 photos. Let's see if you can make it to the end. First one. How about this? Feeling uneasy yet? Almost there. Last one.
These are some of the rarest animals in the world. Once thought to be a separate subspecies, the king cheetah is an African cheetah with a rare mutation of the fur. First discovered in 1926, this badass freak of nature has only been seen in the wild 6 times. A Maine fisherman found this extremely rare translucent lobster. Scientists say about 1 in every 100 million lobsters is colored this way. The world's rarest marine mammal is a small porpoise known as the vaquita, and it's on the brink of extinction. Discovered in 1958, there may only be about 10 of them left in existence. Here are some pics taken off the coast of Australia of the only albino humpback whale in the world. The famous whale is named Migaloo, and being this close to him can fetch you a $16,000 fine. It's extremely rare for axolotls to go through a phase called morphing, where they lose their gills and webbed feet and essentially evolve into a land creature. But it still happens occasionally as a result of dormant genes from their ancestors, like what happened to this one named Gollum.
Millie Bobby Brown just became a mom. So Millie and her husband, Jake Bon Jovi, just announced that they adopted a baby girl. Since the announcement, everyone is kind of freaking out since most people kind of grew up with Millie. We all saw her as a kid on Stranger Things, but now she is a married mother of 1 before the show is even over. But congrats to Millie and Jake for becoming new parents. Yo, what's up? Here's some scary facts about our world that you probably didn't want to know. Part 46. Although pigs seem cute and innocent, they will eat just about anything, and that includes human remains and the bones that come along with it. And yes, it has happened before. Your chances of dying on your birthday are actually 6.7% higher than any other day. Happy birthday to you, am I right? Back during the 18th century, doctors would practice something called bloodletting, where they would actually drain their patient's blood because they believed they accumulated too much and that's what was causing their mental illnesses. And lastly, there's something known as postpartum depression that will cause mood swings, feelings of anger, and sometimes even a worry that you're going to kill your own baby.
This author got a 1-star review on his book and went searching for that person. 18-year-old Paige Rowland was a nursing student from Scotland, and she often loved reading. That same year, she was excited to stumble upon a brand new book called The World Rose. The plot followed the main character, a young girl named Ella, looking for true love and facing the challenges along the way. The book was a self-published novel by 28-year-old Richard Britton. Aside from being an author, from 2006 to 2007, he appeared on many daytime TV game shows. Although he seemed like a bright young man, he was actually a dark and sinister individual. In 2012, Richard had attended college in London, and this is when his attention was caught by a girl named Ella. Once he became friends with this girl, he asked if she would like to be a part of his university quiz team, and she accepted. He gave Ella an application form to fill out, all with personal details, including her address. Now that Richard had all of her personal information, he would send her Valentine's Day cards, added her on Facebook, and it would even show up at her workplace. Ella made it clear to Richard that she was not interested in him, but he did not want to hear any of it. Richard ended up leaving multiple voicemails on Ella's phone expressing his love for her. It got so bad for Ella that she had to relocate 400 miles away just so she wouldn't have to encounter Richard, and she had to involve the police 2 times. At this point, finally, Richard just accepted his defeat. On the other hand, Paige just finished reading Richard's book and was not impressed at all and decided she was going to write a review on Goodreads. In the review, she stated that she was unimpressed with the writing and grammatical errors and gave him a 1-star review. And once Richard saw this 1-star review, he was enraged and was not going to let anyone criticize his book. Richard took Paige's name from the Goodreads account and found her on Facebook, and that is where he saw that she was from Scotland and also found where she worked. Richard made a 400-mile trip to Scotland to hopefully find Paige. On October 3rd of 2014, Richard arrived at the supermarket where Paige worked, and he looked through every aisle to search for her. As Richard was looking through every aisle looking for Paige, he found her restocking the shelves. He grabbed a bottle of wine and snuck up behind Paige. Richard was consumed with anger and a need for revenge, so he hit Paige's head with that bottle with as much strength as he could. Once he did that, he fled the scene and Paige was seen lying in a pool of her own blood. CCTV footage was recovered from the store and it didn't take police long enough to find Richard. Richard was arrested and charged with the assault of Paige and the stalking of Ella. In November of 2015, he pled guilty to both charges and was sentenced to 30 months in prison. Luckily, Paige survived the attack and just like Ella, she moved away as well. Once Richard was released from prison, he sent Paige a private Facebook message that he wanted to go visit her again. Although Richard was told not to contact his victims again, Paige reported this to police, but they decided not to press any kind of charges due to his mental health.
Here's everything you missed in pop culture this past week. Lil Nas X is making headlines after TMZ obtained footage of him roaming around the streets of LA at 4 o'clock in the morning wearing nothing but underwear and cowboy boots. That's it. Now, I won't be showing any of the photos or videos of him from this night because I think that's just weird, but it was later reported that police arrived on the scene to make contact with Lil Nas X, and when they approached him, he charged at them. He was reportedly then restrained, put in handcuffs, and paramedics were alerted where he was then transported to a local hospital to be treated for a possible overdose. After a short evaluation, he was then arrested on suspicion of battery on a police officer and booked into jail. Lil Nas X will remain in jail until at least Monday, when a judge is expected to review his case and decide on bail. We have so much Doja Cat news this week as Doja Cat announced her Tour Ma Vie World Tour that will kick off on November 18th in Auckland. Now, currently there are only a few international dates, but more dates are going to be announced soon. On top of that, Doja has released her long-awaited single Jealous Type alongside its music video, and it is everything I wanted and more. And in a recent interview with Zane Lowe, Doja Cat actually teased that she is rehearsing for some very fun stuff before being told off camera to not mention anything. Now, a lot of fans are speculating that Doja Cat might be doing Super Bowl 2026, which, hey, I would love a Doja Cat halftime show performance, but I feel like that's a long time away to be this delusional. But the next thing closest is the MTV Video Music Awards, and I feel like she might be rehearsing for a surprise performance. Aubrey Plaza appeared on Amy Poehler's Good Hang podcast in her first interview since the loss of her husband. Aubrey Plaza spoke candidly about grief, revealing that it is a daily struggle, but she's grateful to be moving through the world. Sydney Sweeney has obviously been receiving a ton of backlash these past few months, but she has finally addressed the haters for her Dr. Squatch bathwater soap. Sydney stated, "It was mainly the girls making comments about it, which I thought was really interesting. They all loved the idea of Jacob Elordi's bathwater. I guess that's one way to go about it, but Sydney, I want to know what you think of the American Eagle backlash." Before I continue, if you like these pop culture recaps, make sure to follow me for more. Speaking of American Eagle, Gap showed them how to make a denim ad the right way when they tapped Cat's Eye to be the face of their Better in Denim campaign. In the ad campaign, Cat's Eye was styled in all denim while dancing to Khalees's Milkshake, and it was everything. Addison Rae has received 0 nominations at this year's MTV Video Music Awards, and here's what she had to say. Addison stated, "It's definitely funny when you feel like you put a lot of work into something and it doesn't get recognized by some place that you feel like you were contributing to. Say what you want about her music, I feel like it's made a ton of noise and it's actually pretty good, and she was making a ton of noise at the VMAs last year, so yes, this is very confusing." Speaking of the VMAs have revealed that Mariah Carey will be this year's Video Vanguard recipient, and she will do a career-spanning medley of some of her best hits. I am so excited for this performance, and honestly, I could not think of anybody else who would get the Vanguard this year, so it's only fitting that it's Mariah Carey. Christian Girl Autumn influencer Caitlin Covington went viral after she posted a video of herself crying, stating that she cannot make any fall content this year, citing that she felt a ton of pressure to follow up her last year videos and also that she needed a break. And shockingly, this sent everybody into a tizzy, saying fall is cancelled. However, it was all a lie when Caitlin followed it up with a video stating, "Just kidding, fall is here." Ooh, thank God. Congratulations are in order for Millie Bobby Brown and Jake Bon Jovi, as they've announced that they've welcomed a baby girl through adoption. Really devastating news, as Frank Caprio, the man who became known as America's nicest judge for his empathy, his humor, and understanding when handling cases, has sadly passed away at the age of 88. This one hurt. Eric Menendez has been denied parole for the 1989 aliving of his parents. His brother, Lyle Menendez, at the time of this video being posted, is still currently waiting in front of a California parole panel to hear his fate. And lastly, this is kind of insane, a California resident has tested positive for the plague. Health officials believe that they contracted the plague after being bit by an infected flea while camping. This is why I never go camping.